The mysterious chest, the stars were quiet that night. In the endless sea of space, a single human ship drifted slowly between the broken remains of an old battle. The ship belonged to Jaren, a merchant who made his living by finding what others had left behind. He was not a soldier, not a hero, only a man looking for trade. But on this night, fate had other plans for him. Jaren's ship was small and old, patched together from many years of travel. Its engines hummed like a tired beast, and its lights flickered from time to time. He moved carefully among the wrecks of broken warships, his scanner sweeping for anything of value. Pieces of metal, burnt weapons, empty containers. He saw many things, but nothing that could bring him real profit. Then his scanner beeped. A faint signal. Something alive. Jaren frowned. There should be no life out here. The battle had ended weeks ago. Everyone should have been dead or gone. He followed the signal to a drifting cargo ship, its hull torn open by heavy fire. Black scars covered its surface, and broken panels floated in the dark around it. Strange, Jaren muttered. He guided his ship closer and attached a docking clamp. The airlock hissed as he stepped inside. The corridors were silent. His boots echoed on the metal floor. The smell of burnt circuits filled the air. He moved carefully, his hand near the small blaster on his belt. The signal grew stronger, leading him deeper into the ship. Finally, he found it. A chest. It was large, made of some kind of black metal, with glowing blue lines carved across its surface. Alien symbols ran along the edges, shifting like they were alive. The chest pulsed with a faint light as if it had a heartbeat. Jaren stared. This was no ordinary cargo. He touched the surface, and the metal felt warm, almost alive. He searched for a lock, but there was none. Only a small circular mark in the center. His scanner beeped again. The life signal was coming from inside the chest. Jaren's stomach tightened. What in the stars? He pressed the mark, and with a soft hiss, the chest opened. Inside, curled up in a strange silken fabric, was a child. Not human. The child's skin was pale silver, with faint blue veins glowing under it. His eyes were closed, but his face was peaceful, almost royal. 2 small crests of bone rose from his forehead, and his ears were long and pointed. He looked fragile, yet there was something noble about him. Jaren froze. He had seen many aliens in his travels, but none like this. The child stirred, breathing weakly. He was alive, but barely. Jaren's first thought was to close the chest and leave. This was trouble. Whatever race this child belonged to, they were powerful. He could already imagine soldiers, hunters, or worse coming for him if they found out. He was just a merchant. He wanted no part of this. But then the child opened his eyes. They were bright, glowing blue like twin stars. He looked directly at Jaren and whispered a single word in a weak, trembling voice. Protector. Jaren's heart pounded. The word was spoken in perfect human language. The child's gaze held fear, but also trust. It was as if he had been waiting for Jaren. The merchant stepped back, shaking his head. No, no, no. I'm not your protector. I'm nobody. I just trade scrap. I can't, but the child's hand reached out, small and trembling, clutching his sleeve. The grip was weak but desperate. Jaren stood frozen. He should walk away. He should save himself. But something in the child's eyes would not let him move. The ship groaned as metal shifted. Somewhere far away, a dull thud echoed, like something had just docked. Jaren's blood ran cold. Someone else was here. Quickly, he looked back at the chest. If he left the child, whoever had arrived would take him. And judging by the sound of heavy boots in the corridor, they were not here to help. Jaren cursed under his breath. Against all reason, he lifted the child into his arms. He was lighter than expected, wrapped in the silken cloth. The chest closed itself with a soft click, but Jaren ignored it. The footsteps were getting closer. Armed voices shouted in a harsh alien tongue. Jaren ran. He sprinted through the broken corridors, the child held tight against his chest. Sparks rained from the ceiling, and the ship's metal groaned as if it would collapse. The voices grew louder. Reaching the airlock, Jaren slammed the controls and jumped into his own ship. The doors sealed behind him just as shadows appeared in the corridor. Shots of red energy slammed into the wall, but it was too late. His ship pulled away, engines roaring. As he sped into the darkness, he looked down at the child. The boy's eyes were still open, still glowing faintly. He whispered again, softer this time. Protector. Jaren closed his eyes and swore. He had just made the biggest mistake of his life, or perhaps the most important choice. The alien noble Jaren's ship drifted into the dark lanes of space, its old engines humming as he pulled further away from the ruined battlefield. His hands gripped the controls tightly, sweat running down his neck. In the chair beside him, the strange child lay wrapped in silken cloth, breathing softly. For a long time, Jaren did not speak. He only listened to the quiet thrum of the ship. The child's earlier words still echoed in his mind. Protector. Why had the boy called him that? And why him? A simple merchant with no power, no soldiers, no wealth. He glanced again at the child. His pale silver skin shimmered faintly in the cabin light. His glowing blue eyes were half open, watching everything. There was no fear in them now, only calm. Finally, Jaren sighed. All right, little one. You'd better start explaining what you are. To his shock, the child answered. His voice was weak but clear. I am Kale. The name hung in the air. Jaren blinked. Kyle, that's a name? Yes, the boy whispered. Kale of the House Varun. Jaren's heart sank. Even he had heard that name. Varun was one of the great alien houses, a noble bloodline said to rule whole systems with fleets and armies. He had never seen one of them in person, but merchants told stories. Proud, untouchable, dangerous. And now, one of their heirs was sitting in his ship. Jaren rubbed his forehead. Stars, help me. You're trouble. Do you understand? If anyone finds you here, I'm dead. They'll burn me in this ship to ash. But Kale only stared at him, calm and steady. You saved me. That makes you protector. Jaren shook his head. No, that makes me unlucky. Before he could say more, the ship's warning light blinked. The scanner picked up movement in the distance. Small dots appeared on the screen, ships closing fast. Of course, Jaren muttered. They tracked me. He pushed the ship's engines harder, weaving through a cluster of floating rock. The asteroid field ahead was thick and dangerous, but it was his only chance. The dots on the scanner grew closer. Whoever was chasing him knew exactly where to look. Why are they after you? He demanded, glancing at Kale. What's so special about you? Kale's gaze did not waver. They want what is in my mind. A code, my father gave it to me. It can open the shields of our ancestral world. If they take it, all my people will fall. Jaren's chest tightened. So it was true. The boy was not only a noble child, but a key to something powerful. Whoever captured him could conquer a world. The merchant cursed. He was not ready for this. He was a man who sold scraps of old battles, not someone who carried the fate of empires. Yet here he was, with death at his back and a noble heir in his seat. The enemy ships drew closer. Their weapons locked on. Bright red beams flashed across the dark. Jaren's ship shuddered as shots grazed the hull. Sparks flew from the panels. He yanked the controls, throwing the ship into a sharp roll. The asteroids loomed like giants of stone, and he weaved between them at reckless speed. Kyle's eyes glowed brighter. Left, he whispered. Jaren frowned but turned left. A beam of energy shot past where he would have been. The boy had seen it coming. Right, Kyle said again, voice stronger this time. Jaren turned right. Another beam missed. His eyes widened. You can see their shots before they fire? Kale nodded once. Protector, trust me. For the first time, Jaren did. He let the boy guide him. Left, right, down, up. Each time, the ship dodged enemy fire by the narrowest margin. The hunters grew frustrated, firing wildly, but they could not touch him. Finally, Jaren spotted an opening, a narrow crack in a massive asteroid. Too small for a large ship, but just wide enough for his. He dove inside, the ship scraping rock on both sides. Sparks lit the cockpit. The enemy ships pulled back, unwilling to follow. For a few heartbeats, silence returned. Jaren slumped in his chair, gasping for breath. His ship was battered but alive. Slowly, he turned to Kale. The boy was breathing hard, but there was a faint smile on his lips. You see? Kale whispered. Protector. Jaren stared at him for a long time. He wanted to deny it, to throw the boy out and run far away. But deep inside, he knew it was already too late. The moment he had opened that chest, his life had changed forever. The boy was no ordinary alien. He was a noble heir, carrying secrets that could change the fate of worlds. And now, enemies were hunting both of them. Jaren closed his eyes. All right, Kale, for now I'll protect you. But don't think I'll like it. Kale leaned back, his voice soft but firm. You don't need to like it. You only need to keep me alive. Outside the asteroid, the enemy ships waited, circling like wolves. Jaren knew they would not give up. He had become a target and the chase had only begun, and so, the merchant who once searched for scraps found himself guarding a treasure greater than any he had ever known. A child who could save, or destroy, an entire people. The chase begins. The asteroid field was silent again. Jaren's ship hid in the shadows of the rocks, its engines cut to minimum power. He floated there like a ghost, waiting, listening. Outside, enemy ships circled, their scanners sweeping the field like hunters sniffing for prey. Inside the cockpit, Jaren sat still, his hands tight on the controls. He could hear his own heartbeat, faster than the steady hum of the ship. Kale sat beside him, wrapped in his silken cloth, his glowing eyes calm despite the danger pressing all around them. "They won't leave," Jaren whispered. "They know I'm in here." Kale turned his head slowly, his gaze sharp even for one so young. "They will not stop. They are sworn to hunt me. They will follow until either I am taken, or they are destroyed," Jaren groaned. "Wonderful. And I thought my biggest problem this week would be paying docking fees." The scanner beeped. One of the enemy ships was moving closer, creeping through the field like a predator. Jaren could picture them, sharp black ships with long claws of metal designed to hunt, not fight fair. He thought of slipping out now, engines blazing, making a run for open space. But he knew better. They would catch him in seconds. Suddenly, Kale's small hand touched the console. Symbols appeared on the screen, glowing lines that Jaren had never seen before. "Hey, don't touch that!" he hissed, but the boy ignored him. The symbols rearranged into a star map. "There," Kale said softly, pointing at a faint mark in deep space. "An outpost of my house, hidden. If we reach it, you will be safe. They will protect you because you protect me." Jaren frowned. "Safe with your noble family? I doubt they'll thank a dirty human merchant for stealing their prince." Kale's voice sharpened, stronger than before. "Not stealing, saving. My blood remembers you now. They will honor it." Before Jaren could argue, the scanner blared again. The nearest hunter ship had locked on. Red beams of energy cut through the asteroid, blasting rock into dust. The whole field shook. Jaren cursed and slammed the engines forward. His ship roared to life, bursting from cover in a spray of stone. "Hold on," he shouted. The hunters came alive, engines burning like angry eyes. They swarmed after him, 3 dark shapes darting through the rocks. Jaren twisted the controls, weaving between spinning asteroids. Chunks of stone the size of cities rolled past his ship, shadows sliding across his hull. Beams of light flashed around him, cutting craters into the drifting giants. Kale gripped the arm of his seat, but his face was still calm. "Left," he said firmly. Jaren obeyed without thinking. A blast tore past, missing by a breath. Down, he dived. Another shot flew overhead, striking an asteroid and breaking it in two. Jaren gritted his teeth. "You'd better keep talking, boy, or we're both dead." Kale's eyes glowed brighter. "They think like wolves, predictable. Trust me." The chase twisted deeper into the field. Jaren flew through cracks barely wider than his ship, scraping metal, sparks flying. Behind him, the hunters split up, one above, one below, one directly behind. They were herding him, forcing him where they wanted. Jaren realized too late. It's a trap. The space ahead opened into a clearing, an empty pocket in the asteroid field. A perfect place for an ambush, and waiting there, hidden until now, was a fourth ship, larger, armed with heavy cannons. It fired. A massive beam of light split the darkness, racing straight toward them. Jaren pulled hard, but the blast clipped the wing. The ship spun out of control, alarms screaming. Kale shut his eyes, whispering words in a language Jaren didn't understand. The silken cloth around him glowed faintly, spreading light across the cabin. The spinning slowed. The controls steadied. For a moment, Jaren felt like invisible hands were holding the ship together. He didn't ask questions. He only flew. Pushing the ship to its limits, Jaren dove under the big hunter, engines howling. Smaller ships closed in from all sides. The merchant grinned despite himself. "You want me? Fine. Come and get me." He darted between asteroids, cutting sharp turns that scraped his hull but lost his pursuers for seconds at a time. The hunters fired, but their shots struck only rock. Dust clouds filled the void, covering his escape route. Finally, Jaren spotted what he needed. A cluster of asteroids locked together, spinning slowly. Between them was a tunnel of space, narrow and twisting. Too dangerous for large ships. "Hold tight," he yelled. He plunged into the tunnel, scraping close enough that sparks rained across the glass. The hunters followed, But the largest ship stayed back. It was too big to fit. Inside the tunnel, Jaren flew like a madman, guided by Kale's quiet commands. Left, right, up, down. Each turn brought them inches from death, but also closer to freedom. One of the smaller hunters misjudged a turn. It smashed into rock, exploding in a flash of red fire. The second ship tried to squeeze through a gap but got stuck, crushed by spinning stone. Only one remained, clinging to Jaren's tail. It fired again and again, scorching the rear hull. Jaren grit his teeth. Almost there. At the tunnel's end, he pulled hard, bursting out into open space. The last hunter followed, but too close. It slammed into his ship's wake, lost control, and crashed against a drifting boulder. Another explosion lit the void. Silence returned. Breathing hard, Jaren checked the scanner. Only the big hunter remained far behind. It circled but did not follow. For now, they were free. Jaren leaned back, sweat dripping down his face. He turned to Kale, who sat calmly as if he had never doubted. "You're insane," Jaren muttered. "Both of us are insane." Kyle only smiled faintly. "Protector, this is only the beginning." And in the distance, the larger hunter ship cloaked itself, vanishing from the scanner, watching, waiting. The chase was not over. It had only just begun. Secrets of the child Jaren's ship drifted through the darkness long after the chase ended. The stars outside were calm again, but inside the cockpit the air was heavy. Warning lights still blinked on the console, showing damage from the fight. The engines rattled and the hull groaned like an old animal wounded but alive. Jaren leaned back in his chair, breathing slowly. His hands still shook from the chase. He had cheated death before, but never like this. Across from him sat Kale. The boy was quiet, wrapped in the glowing silken cloth, his strange blue eyes never blinking. He looked too calm for someone being hunted across the stars. That calmness unnerved Jaren more than the chase itself. Finally, Jaren broke the silence. "All right, boy. Enough mysteries. What are you hiding in that head of yours? Why are they chasing you like wolves?" Kale tilted his head, studying the human merchant as if deciding how much to reveal. His voice, though soft, carried weight. "I told you before. My father gave me something. Not an object, but a code. It is not written. It is not carried. It is remembered. And I remember it," Jaren frowned. "A code for what?" Kale's eyes glowed brighter. "For the vaults of Varun." Jaren leaned forward. He had heard whispers in trade bars and back alleys. The vaults of Varun, ancient fortresses said to hold weapons older than the war, defenses built when the galaxy was young. Some merchants called them myths, some swore they were real. If Kale's words were true, then he carried more than just a secret. He carried the power to awaken a sleeping empire. "Stars above," Jaren muttered. He rubbed his forehead. "And now I've got half the galaxy chasing me because of you." Cal's expression did not change. "They will not stop. They know what I carry. If they capture me, they will break the code from my mind. Then every world of my house will fall." Jaren stared at him, anger boiling in his chest. "And what am I supposed to do? I'm no soldier, no hero. I'm a traitor. I sell broken things, not save empires." For the first time, Kale's calm face cracked. His voice trembled slightly, but his eyes stayed locked on Jaren's. "My father said I would not be alone. He said a protector would come, not of our blood, but strong enough to keep me alive until the vaults open. When you opened the chest, I knew it was you." Jaren froze. The boy's faith was too much. He wanted to laugh, to deny it, to push Kale away. But deep inside, something heavy stirred. He had always thought of himself as ordinary, a man who survived by staying small. Yet this child looked at him as if he were larger than life. Before he could speak, the ship's console beeped sharply. An alert flashed. Incoming signal. Jaren stiffened. He turned off the transmitter quickly, but it was too late. The signal had already entered his system. A face flickered onto the cracked screen. It was Vela. Jaren's stomach dropped. Vela was an old friend, another merchant who had once run deals with him in the border worlds. "She was sharp, clever, and dangerous, Jaren," she said smoothly, her smile as sharp as a blade. "Funny to see you in this sector. Rumor says a valuable prize escaped from the battlefield. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" Jaren forced a grin. "Prize me? You know me, Vela. I barely make enough to keep this rust bucket flying." Her eyes narrowed. "Perhaps. Or perhaps you're hiding something worth more than your life. Tell me, Jaren, do you still trust me?" The signal cut, Jaren's chest tightened. He knew that look. Vela had already betrayed him. She had likely sent his coordinates to the hunters. He slammed the controls. We need to move now. Kyle tilted his head. She was your ally once? Jaren's jaw clenched. Once, not anymore. Out here, loyalty lasts only as long as the credits. As if to prove his words, the scanner lit up. Enemy ships were already closing in, faster this time, too fast. Vela had led them straight to him. Kale's eyes narrowed. Then the Protector must protect again, Jaren growled. Protector or fool, I'll get us out. He powered the engines, pushing the battered ship into open space. The hunters followed, their dark ships slicing through the void. But this time, Jaren felt different. He was not just running. He was beginning to understand the truth. The child was more than a burden. He was a key, and if Jaren let him fall, it wouldn't just be one boy lost. It would be an entire people, maybe entire worlds. Still, as the enemy ships locked onto his tail, Jaren muttered under his breath, "Stars help me." I'm in over my head. Kyle placed a hand on the console, his glow spreading across the screens. The ship's broken systems flickered, then stabilized, stronger than before. Jaren stared. What did you just do? Kale whispered. I gave your ship a part of my memory. It will hold for now. But remember, Protector, this fight is only beginning. And as the hunters closed in, Jaren realized the boy was right. The secret inside Kale's mind was not only dangerous, it was alive, and it was changing everything around them. The betrayal. The hunters came fast. Too fast. Jaren's ship rattled as he pushed the old engines to their limits. Red beams sliced the void behind him, missing by inches. Kale sat strapped into his chair, calm as ever, though the glow in his eyes had grown sharper, more focused. Jaren's hands flew over the controls. They're hurting us again, he muttered. Just like before. Only this time they know my tricks. Kale's voice was quiet but steady. She gave you to them, Jaren's jaw clenched. You didn't need to ask who she was. Vela. Once they had shared smuggler runs and long nights of cards in backwater stations. He had trusted her enough to share a drink, maybe even a secret. But trust was cheap in the border worlds. Now she had sold him out for a higher price. The scanner blared. A signal appeared ahead. Not one ship, an entire station. It floated in the black like a jagged beast, lights glowing red across its body. Jaren's heart sank. A pirate base. And by the looks of it, Vela's the comm crackled. Her voice filled the cockpit, smooth and sharp. Jaren, you always were predictable. You fly like a rat and rats always run to the same holes. Welcome to mine, Jaren cursed under his breath. He tried to veer away, but the hunters cut off every escape route. Trapped, his ship was forced toward the station. Inside, docking arms clamped hard against his hull. Sparks flew as metal locked him in place. Jaren grabbed his blaster and stood, but Kale's voice stopped him. You cannot win here. Too many, Jaren froze. He hated that the boy was right. Slowly, he lowered the weapon. The airlock hissed and armed pirates stormed in, blasters drawn. Vela entered last. She wore sleek armor, her smile bright and dangerous. Hello, old friend, she said. Still carrying strays, I see. But this one, oh, this one is valuable. Her eyes fell on Kale. The boy sat tall despite his small size, his silver skin shining faintly in the light. He looked at her with the calmness of a prince. You will not have me, he said softly. Vela laughed, bold words for a child, but you're worth more than 10 fleets. With you, I could buy a throne. And with your code, I could burn one. Jaren's fists clenched. Vela, listen. You don't know what you're dealing with. If you hand him over, you won't control it. They'll use you and throw you away. Her smile vanished. Her eyes turned cold. And what would you do, Jaren? Hide him in that broken ship of yours? Feed him scraps while the galaxy burns? No, I will deliver him and I will take my share. You should thank me. At least I won't kill you right away. She motioned to her guards. Two grabbed Jaren, tearing the blaster from his grip. Another pulled Kale from his chair. For the first time, Kale's calm cracked. His voice rose, sharp with fear. Protector. Jaren fought, but the guards held him down. He watched helplessly as they dragged Kale away. The boy struggled weakly, his glowing eyes locked on Jaren until the last second. Then the door closed, and Jaren was left in darkness. Hours passed, or maybe only minutes. Jaren sat in a locked cell, the cold metal walls pressing in, His thoughts spun like broken gears. He had failed. The boy had trusted him, called him protector, and he had let him be taken. He slammed his fist against the wall. "Damn it!" The cell door buzzed. A shadow stepped inside. Not Vela, one of her pirates, nervous and sweating. He looked at Jaren like a man who had already made a mistake. "They're moving the kid," the pirate whispered. "Big buyer's coming soon. Some kind of warlord, but the kid sent me a message. In my head, said you'd come, said you'd free him." Jaren blinked. What?" The pirate shivered. "I don't know how, he just spoke to me without speaking. And now I can't stop hearing his voice. Said you were the protector, said I had to help." He unlocked the cuffs. Jaren stood, flexing his hands. He didn't know if it was a trap, or if the boy had somehow reached into this pirate's mind. But he didn't care. He had one chance. "Where are they taking him?" Jaren demanded. "Main hall," the pirate whispered. "To Vela's throne." Jaren's eyes hardened. "Then that's where I'll go." He slipped into the shadows of the base, blaster in hand. Pirates laughed and shouted in nearby rooms, unaware their prize was about to be stolen back. In the main hall, Jaren found them. Vela sat on her makeshift throne, Kale kneeling before her, guarded by soldiers. The boy's eyes met Jaren's across the room. His lips moved silently. Protector, Jaren raised his blaster. The betrayal was not finished. The fight had only just begun. The final escape. The hall burned with red light. Vela sat on her iron throne of welded scrap, smiling like a queen of thieves. Kale knelt before her, hands bound in glowing cuffs that pulsed with energy. Around them stood pirates with blasters ready, laughing and cheering. Jaren stood hidden in the shadows above, gripping his weapon tight. His chest was heavy, but his eyes were sharp. The boy had called to him, not with words, but with something deeper. That call still rang in his mind. Protector. He could not fail again. Vela leaned forward. "Do you know what you are, child? You're not a prince. You're a prize. And I will sell you to the highest bidder. Warlords, empires, rebels, everyone will want you. And I will be rich beyond measure." Kale lifted his head, his glowing eyes cold. "You are blind. They will use you, then throw you away." Her laugh echoed across the hall. "Perhaps. But first I will use you." She raised her hand. A soldier stepped forward, pressing a scanner to Kyle's forehead. Strange symbols lit the device, pulling data from his mind. Kale winced, his body trembling under the strain. Jaren moved. He dropped from the shadows like a falling stone. His blaster cracked, dropping the nearest guard. The hall exploded into chaos. "Protector!" Kale cried, his voice breaking through the noise. Jaren fired again and again, pushing through the pirates. He ducked behind a pillar as blaster fire rained down, sparks bouncing off the walls. His heart pounded, but he kept moving, each step closer to the boy. Vela rose from her throne, eyes blazing with fury. "Jaren, you fool! You think you can steal from me?" Jaren shouted back, his voice raw. "He was never yours." He dove, rolling to the side as a beam of energy scorched the floor where he had stood. Another pirate lunged, and Jaren smashed his blaster into the man's face, then fired point blank. At the same moment, Kale closed his eyes. The cuffs around his wrists glowed brighter, then cracked. With a sharp breath, he shattered them. Light poured from his skin, sweeping across the hall. For a heartbeat, time itself seemed to slow. Every pirate froze, their eyes wide with fear. Kale stood tall, his silver skin blazing, his voice carrying like thunder. "Protector now!" Jaren surged forward, cutting down the last guard between them. He reached Kale's side, pulling the boy behind him as more pirates stormed the hall, but Kale touched his arm. "Not behind. With you," Jaren glanced at him. The boy's eyes burned like stars. For the first time, Jaren understood. Kale was not helpless. He was powerful, too powerful for a child his age. Together they ran. The halls of the base shook as alarms blared. Pirates poured in from every corridor, firing wildly. Jaren shot back, covering their escape, while Kale moved with strange grace, guiding him through hidden paths. "Left!" Kale cried. Jaren turned just as a blast scorched the wall. "Down!" He dropped, and a pirate's beam cut the air above his head. Every command saved his life. It was as if Kale could see the future seconds before it happened. They reached the docking bay. Jaren's battered ship waited, clamped in place by heavy locks. Guards swarmed the platform, dozens of them. Jaren's chest sank. "We'll never make it," Kale stepped forward. His hands glowed brighter and brighter until the light filled the bay. The pirate stumbled back, blinded. With a voice that echoed like a storm, Kale spoke a single word in his alien tongue. The clamps around Jaren's ship shattered. The guards panicked, firing blindly. Jaren grabbed Kale's hand and pulled him up the ramp. Blaster fire slammed against the hull, but the boy's glow deflected the worst of it, forming a faint shield around them. Inside, Jaren slammed the controls. The ship roared to life, engines screaming. "Hold on!" he shouted. The ship tore free of the bay, smashing through the force shield and into the black void. Behind them, pirate ships lit their engines, swarming in pursuit. Vela's voice cracked across the comm. "You can't run forever, Jaren. I'll hunt you to the ends of the stars." Jaren snarled. "Get in line. Everyone else already is." He threw the ship into a sharp dive, weaving through the station's defenses. Beams of energy lanced past, but Kale's glowing eyes guided him. Each time the boy whispered, "Left, up, faster," and each time the shots missed by inches. Then the big hunter ship appeared. The same one that had stalked them before, black and silent, its massive cannons powering up. Jaren's stomach dropped. Not again. Kale placed both hands on the console. His glow spread across the ship, into the systems, into the engines. The old craft shuddered, then roared with new life. "Protector," Kyle said firmly. "Together." Jaren gripped the controls. "Together." The ship blazed forward, faster than it had ever flown. The hunter fired, but the beam tore empty space. Jaren swerved, using Kale's visions to stay one step ahead. They flew straight through the hunter's formation, weaving between blasts until finally Jaren saw his chance. "Hang on." He spun the ship, dropping behind an asteroid. The hunter followed, too close. Jaren hit the thrusters, blasting forward. The asteroid split apart under the strain, massive chunks slamming into the hunter ship. The enemy's hull cracked, fire spilling into space. The great beast of a ship twisted, then exploded in a wave of red light. Silence fell. Jaren slumped back, chest heaving. His ship was scarred, engines smoking but alive. Beside him, Kale sat calm again, the glow fading from his skin. The boy turned, his eyes steady. "Protector, you will not fail me. I know it now." Jaren closed his eyes, exhaling. "Stars help me, kid." "I hope you're right." But deep inside, for the first time, he believed it too. Protector and air. The wreckage of the hunter ship burned in the distance, glowing pieces drifting like dying stars. Jaren's vessel limped away, its engines sparking, its hull scarred. Inside the cockpit, alarms still blinked, but for the first time in days, silence filled the air. Jaren leaned back in his chair, exhausted. His hands trembled, his chest heaved, and sweat clung to his skin. He had fought pirates, outrun hunters, and faced betrayal. Somehow he was still alive. Somehow the boy was still alive. Kale sat beside him, wrapped in his silken cloth. His glow had faded, leaving only faint traces beneath his silver skin. He looked younger now, weaker, like a child who had carried too much weight. But his eyes, those bright star-like eyes, remained steady. For a long moment, neither spoke. The hum of the ship was the only sound. Finally, Jaren broke the silence. "That's it. I'm done. I can't keep running like this. One more fight and this rust bucket will tear itself apart. You need your people, boy. Not me." Kale turned his head slowly. "My people are scattered. My house is broken. You are all I have." Jaren laughed bitterly. "I'm no noble guardian. I'm just a merchant who can't mind his own business." But Kale shook his head. His small voice carried a weight far beyond his ears. "You are protector. That is not a title you choose. It is a truth you carry." Jaren wanted to argue, to throw the word back at him, but the boy's gaze held him still. Deep down in the quiet place of his heart, he knew Kale was right. He had chosen the moment he opened the chest. There was no going back. He rubbed his eyes and sighed. "All right. Protector it is, but if I'm going to protect you, we need a plan. Where do we go from here?" Kyle closed his eyes, thinking. "The vaults of Varun lie far beyond these stars. I cannot open them yet. I am too young, too weak. But when the time comes, they will awaken and my house will rise again. Until then, we must stay hidden. We must grow strong." Jaren leaned forward, staring out at the endless stars. "Stay hidden. Grow strong. Sounds simple. Except the whole galaxy wants you dead or captured." Kale's lips curved into the faintest smile. "That is why I need you." Jaren chuckled dryly. "Stars above. You've got strange taste in heroes." Kyle tilted his head. "Not hero, protector." Before Jaren could reply, the ship's sensors beeped. A faint signal blinked on the screen. Not a hunter, not a pirate, something else. A trade beacon, weak but steady from a distant outpost. Jaren stared at it. Supplies, he muttered. Repairs. Maybe even information. We need it, Kale nodded. Then we go. The ship crawled toward the beacon, its engines groaning. Hours passed, stars shifting around them. Finally, a small station came into view. Old, rusted, barely holding together. Not a place for nobles or kings, but perfect for ghosts hiding from the galaxy. They docked. Jaren led Kale through the narrow halls, keeping his blaster close and his eyes sharp. The station smelled of oil and smoke, filled with traders, smugglers, and drifters. No one looked twice at them. Just another tired man and a strange child. For a moment, Jaren almost felt normal again. Almost. They found food, parts, and fuel. Jaren worked on patching the ship while Kale watched, quiet but thoughtful. At times the boy asked questions about tools, engines, stars. He wanted to learn. Jaren taught him what he could, surprised at how quickly Kale understood. Later they sat together in the cockpit, staring out at the starfield. Jaren sipped a tin of bitter trader's brew. Kale simply sat in silence, his hands folded, his gaze far away. Finally, Kale spoke. You think you are small, Jaren, but you are not.
My people will remember you.
When they hear the name Protector, they will know it was you who carried me through the fire. Jaren swallowed hard. He didn't want to admit how those words struck him. Instead, he laughed quietly. Protector, huh? I suppose there are worse titles. Kale's eyes glowed faintly. It is not just a title. It is who you are. Outside, the stars stretched endless and vast, full of dangers yet to come. Jaren knew the hunters were still out there. Vela was still out there. More enemies would rise, stronger and sharper than before. But for the first time, he did not feel like he was running. He felt like he was moving toward something. He looked at Kale, at the strange, noble child who had turned his life upside down. Protector and heir, merchant and prince. Two lives bound together by chance, or perhaps by something greater. Jaren set his hands on the controls. All right, Kale. Let's see where the stars take us next. The engines roared to life, carrying them into the unknown. And though the galaxy was wide and the shadows deep, the boy and his protector would face it together. For this was not the end, it was only the beginning.